All right, my dude, this is it. First episode of the James Franco Podcast. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and watching or listening. We tried to record, was it last week or the week before?
Last week.
We tried to record last week. It feels like much longer, but that's cool, actually, that it was only a week. Yeah, so we tried to record, had some technical difficulties because Franco, God bless him, he
got kicked out of what's it called?
Discord. Well, first
Discord.
Franco made, for the first time ever, right before we hopped on the call, he made a Discord account, right, and downloaded Discord and everything. Seconds later, we started recording for maybe 15 minutes. All of a sudden, Franco gets kicked from the call. Discord emails him, bans his account. Just for no reason.
Says I've done all this stuff that I have not done at all.
Listed all the ways that he's violated terms of service. And that just to this day, that's so, I have no idea what that means. But so then we tried Zoom and it worked. You know, we had a full hour-long conversation, recorded it and everything, but Franco, God bless him, he's not too up to speed with all the technical stuff. He was listening to me through the speakers of his computer, which was also being picked up on his mic, and there's just no way to even recover that.
James is trying to edit it.
I was listening to it, and then I was like, okay, maybe this can work. Its first episode doesn't have to be the best quality, and then I was like, but we could do a little bit better than this. Plus, you know, a week later, we're a little bit fresher. You know, we tried it once, had a first run at it. Franco's new at recording things and all that, so a little bit more comfortable with that. And, you know, it's good.
So I can give him a quick overview of, who I am and our relationship like we did in the last video, and then we can just dive right into it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Well, guys, my name is Franco Espinoza. I've known James since we were in the 3rd grade, so I think 8, 7, 9 years old. 10.
I was 8, you were 9. between 5 and 10 years old. In 3rd grade. Between birth, and I was in a different country when I was born. But anyway, so we've known each other since we were in the 3rd grade, and went to high school together. And then we split off. He went to San Francisco for college, and I went to San Luis Obispo, which is a small town in Central Coast of California. Slow. SLO. Cal Poly. For anybody watching who goes to Cal Poly. California Polytechnic University, San Luis Obispo.
That's the actual full name, yeah. So James studied cinema, and I studied, right? Is that the name of your major? Was cinematography?
Yeah, it was cinema.
Cinema, right?
The art of movie theaters. The study of movie theaters specifically.
How to
build a music video. How to build a movie theater, both literally laying the bricks and also the film industry side of it. So I learned a lot in college.
How to massively upsell concessions.
Yep. $17.25 for a small Coke. No refills.
And I studied business administration, concentrated in marketing. So that's what I've been doing for the last few years. I've been in sales and marketing, so totally different industry. But when James told me about this opportunity, I was like, this is super fun. We get to hang out for an hour and just talk about stuff.
Yeah. And that's what I'm into. Yeah. That's the most excited I am about this, is that we now have a reason, not that we needed a reason, but it gives us a reason to check in every week. Both in our own lives, you know, shoot the shit before we get into the actual podcast for a while, and then talk about some cool stuff. Honestly, whatever it is, we had some ideas, you know, talking about conspiracy theories, different type of just mysteries of the universe and the world, you know, and of the past, ancient civilizations. Theories,
just random things that come up in conversations between James and I naturally, that we're the world needs to know about this.
The world,
and everything will be figured out.
The world needs our perspective on this. And do I have the answers? No. And do I even have a little bit of knowledge? Probably not. But we're gonna have a great time talking about it. Recording the podcast. Fucking Vinny. Dude, Vinny.
For a second, I thought that was Lauren.
No, Lauren is out there, but it's because Vinny has this ball, this like really hard plastic ball that has this thing in it that makes like a noise when it like rolls around, and so I just heard like the noise of it. Dude, it's so funny, and it's like this big ass ball that isn't squishy. It's like hard plastic. So watching Vinny try to like get his mouth around it to pick it up, and the no, I can't see. It's completely blown out. So. The first episode, we want to keep it lighthearted. We want to, just have our introductions. You guys know me probably, or some of you. Hopefully there's new people that are going to come onto this podcast. That's our goal. I want to start building this as a thing that we can focus on together, because this whole time, our whole lives, we haven't really had a project that we've worked on together. We've had ideas up the fucking ass over many years, but we've never really like had a project that we worked on together. So this will be the first.
Yeah, that's kind of nice, actually. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, same way that we've never lived together, which is a thing
right?
that is strange.
Now, if we live together, then it's going to be us 4 plus my son.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll have Uncle James and Aunt Lauren.
Yeah.
Maybe, dude. Maybe.
I just want to say, dude, I still can't believe that you're having a kid. You're having a son, man. It's incredible. It's like... It's hard for me to even fully like realize. I can only imagine how you're feeling, but you've always been more cool, calm, and collected than I have.
I heard his heartbeat yesterday, and it sounded like a war drum.
That's
so
crazy. Awesome. What's going on in there?
It was epic, dude.
That's crazy.
It was so cool.
Was it the steady, strong and steady?
Yeah, it sounded like a war drum. It was an amazing thing to hear.
That's crazy, man. That's beautiful. That's truly so beautiful. Like, wow. Yeah, I can't wait to just play with your kid, man. I can't wait to play with Elias and like do make-believe stuff with him, because I used to love playing make-believe shit when I was a kid, like, and playing with toys and stuff. I built these massive worlds as a kid with like my toys.
Pretend like you're pretending.
Yeah, but like, hardcore,
creating worlds.
Hardcore pretending, like full on, dude. Man, I used to go hard with my toys. I used to have like a red Crayola marker and like have blood on them and shit. Straight up.
Like my mom used to worry about me.
Like my mom, yeah. Like my mom was worried about me. That's so funny. So
it's like one time when I was an adult and I was in my room at like 2 a.m. and I was just like praying to God, and then my dad opens the door and he's like, "What are you doing? Do I need to take you to a psychiatrist?"
Did you really?
Yeah, because it was like 2 a.m. and I was just like I couldn't go to sleep.
And you were just praying out loud?
I was just praying out loud.
Your dad comes in?
But I was like doing it in a whisper, so I think that for him it sounded like
He thought you were like, oh my God, dude, that's so funny. He was like outside the door.
He's like, what the heck is he doing?
He hears 2 voices.
That would be
like
crazy.
Doubled voices, not like 2 voices talking to each other, like doubled voices. Like your voice and then like a deeper voice under it.
His own insanity creates another voice.
Oh my God.
And so he thinks I'm having a full conversation.
Turns out you weren't even home. He opens the door, Franco. Whoa. I need to go to sleep. Yeah, so if anything else pops into our head, like about just you as a person, to get everyone to know you, we'll bring it up and talk about it as it organically comes up. And obviously, if you guys have any questions about Franco, any questions at all, ask. Please ask. Yeah. I want to have this be like an interactive thing where we interact with and answer questions, from all of our listeners and viewers and stuff. Because I think that's a really fun thing to like have that open dialogue kind of going on. And I have some questions from Twitter from last week when I asked, and from yesterday when I asked. So we'll get to that towards the end of the podcast. There are a couple things that I wanted to get into. Bless me. Yesterday I saw a crazy thing that was trending on Twitter. Lauren and I had just started watching Up, and I don't know if have you seen Up?
Yeah.
So obviously, the first 10 minutes of that movie,
Well, yeah, they wreck you.
Niagara Falls, baby, Niagara Falls. And
yeah,
I haven't cried.
Super sad movie. I didn't actually want to watch it because I don't like watching movies that force me to cry and be like really sad for no reason, you know.
But at least
Sammy really wanted to watch it, and I watched it, and then yeah, it was horrible.
It's beautiful because with Up at least, it's such a beautiful and real way and sweet way to like look at, you know, relationships and love and death and stuff like that and purpose and dreams and things like that. I think it explores those things beautifully. But yeah, it wrecks you. But at least it has. I love the idea of just like, you know, he lost his wife and he's alone, but he makes these new relationships and these new adventures. It's not too late for that. You know what I mean? Wherever you are in life. I mean, he's an old man and he's finally able to have these adventures. And it's sweet. Even though it's sad, it's sweet. But anyways, so we had just gotten through that part and we were like crying and we took a break and I came in here to, I think, just like get some weed or something. And I saw Twitter right here and there was a thing on trending and it was like NASA discovers a parallel universe and nobody's talking about it. And I was like, excuse me? Excuse me?
That's nuts.
NASA discovers? How? You shut the fuck up and tell me how. Shut the fuck up. Tell me how. And so I looked into it.
Who tweeted it? Or how did it come up?
Everyone but NASA tweeted it. So that should be your first giveaway right there that maybe not everything is as it seems. And you know, the world, especially, you have to be careful with the internet. And I'm saying this to myself because I'm a big fan of lore and just incredible things. I love entertaining ideas of just these incredible things that are going on in the past, present, and future, and in the universe as a whole, in the world. Things that we don't know about, don't see, aren't fully capable of understanding, but like, it's so cool if there is more to all this, you know? And so
I like to think that anything that we can create in our imagination actually forms a whole parallel reality. So somewhere in the multiverse, the MCU, that whole thing, everything that happened is real.
100% verbatim. Verbatim, yeah. Who's to say it's not? Like, literally, who's to say for a fact that it's not? That it can't happen somewhere? It's just not happening in ours. So, anyways, this parallel universe, I looked it up last night, and I found this article from Channel 7 News in Boston. One of the most credible sources you can find, Channel 7 News in Boston specifically. And it says, NASA may have uncovered evidence of bizarre parallel universe where physics and time operate in reverse.
Physics and time operate in reverse. So what does that mean? Like you drop an apple and it actually just goes up?
So that's the thing that's like, when you, it's very easy to say something like that. You know,
the upside down. Oh my God.
Straight up Stranger Things. So it's very easy to just make a big claim like, yeah, they uncovered evidence that there's a parallel universe where everything runs backwards. You know, but it's like, excuse me, we barely understand how time works in our universe on our plane of existence, let alone understanding how it's going to work in reverse. But if you think about it, you know, I heard, or there's a thing in here that says like, it's not reverse as in like people walking backwards, you know, being born old and then dying a baby like Benjamin Button, but it's, for them, it's moving forward because of the way that they perceive it and they perceive time. But from our perspective, it'd be moving backwards. And likewise for them, from their perspective, we would be moving backwards. So it's like a two-lane street, one car going this way, one car going this way, but they're both pointing forward. From their perspective. So that type of thing, which when you think about it, you're like, okay, I guess that's not as crazy as you'd think it is. But I'm still like, I was still going back to the idea of like, okay, wait a minute. They detected evidence. They observed evidence of this. How on earth could they do that? Did they accidentally rip a hole open and they're like, looked in and they're like, that's another parallel universe running backwards. Huh. Crazy. But this is what happened. So, and I'm going to try to paraphrase this in the most accurate way I can according to this article. But I am going to move on to a different article after because when I looked it up again this morning, this is the article that I found from CNET. No, NASA didn't find evidence of a parallel universe where time runs backwards. And so I was like, I saw that and I was like, okay, Didn't think so. But we'll read both and just to get our ideas, because I want this podcast to also be entertaining, you know, and I want to play with the speculation that these things could be real, because at the end of the day, none of this fucking matters. They didn't prove it and they didn't disprove it. They're making observations that maybe one day will lead to a hypothesis that they can claim as a theory. You know what I mean? Like, all this stuff is so it's never going to be as easy as like opening something and seeing a different universe. You know what I mean? That's never how we're going to be able to observe that. At least from my perspective, it's going to be something like what they're doing here. So this, what is the name of this thing?
What's that poster of on the right of Alien on your wall?
This one?
Yeah.
Interstellar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I watched Ad Astra recently. I liked it. I thought that was a different kind of movie, for sure. It was more. I felt like it was more spiritual, but I really loved Interstellar. That's like, so far, it's my favorite space epic.
Yeah, Interstellar is amazing. And like the fact that it goes to a place where it is very spiritual and like about like how love is this thing.
The love, yeah.
That's incredible to me, because like, in my opinion, that's what makes us human, is like love, you know? And being able to have love be a connection that can span across a universe, like that is insane. Like,
what is that? Like, time is the fourth dimension or something like that?
Is it fourth or fifth?
So by having love, we're fourth dimensional beings. We're actually 4-dimensional beings. We're not 3-dimensional beings.
Yeah, something because like love, like
space.
Because you can have the same strength of love for somebody that is standing in front of you, and once they die and they're gone, you can still have that same like strength of love towards them, and how it like just it's insane to think about.
Yeah.
But no, it's, and also like from a filmmaking standpoint, it's a masterpiece. It's beautiful in every single way. Like, I think it's my favorite. Yeah, it's definitely my favorite Christopher Nolan movie for sure. Like, even over Dark Knight. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find this fucking article, man. Yeah, okay, it's this one. Cool. So, this is from Daily Star. So I'm just gonna like list the source that I found it, and it's up for you guys to decide whether or not you think those are credible sources or not. Because I really don't give a shit. I'm not going to believe.
I mean, either way, we'll still talk about what we think.
Exactly.
In terms of
Because I'm not trying to get to the bottom of anything. I'm not trying to prove anything or disprove anything. You know what I mean? I'm just creating these, or we're just creating these open discussions because it's fun stuff to talk about. It's cool. It's interesting. Right. So NASA has this device, I'll call it, because I couldn't think of another word to call it. It's called the Tesseract. Okay. No, it's called the...
We're all Tesseracts.
Whoa. It's called the Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, or ANITA for short. Anita Boner. Remember Anita Boner, dude? So it basically uses a giant balloon to haul delicate electronic antennas high into the cold, dry air above Antarctica, where there's little or no radio noise to distort its findings. There is a constant wind of high-energy particles coming from outer space, some of which are 1 million times more powerful than anything we can generate. There are low-energy particles called neutrinos, which can completely pass through the Earth and any sort of matter without disrupting it or even really coming into contact with it. Like neutrinos, apparently it's been theorized that there's like trillions of neutrinos passing through your body every day. But it's just such a low energy particle that it doesn't do anything on like an atomic level. It doesn't do anything. And they're so small that there's such a small chance of them even coming into contact with an atom. But when they do come in contact with an atom and collide with an atom, it'll create an observable reading. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So... But obviously there are higher energy objects and particles in space that will interact with and be blocked with matter and the Earth. So This means that higher energy particles can be detected coming down from outer space. To detect a heavier particle, a tau neutrino, coming up out of the Earth would imply that these particles are actually traveling backwards in time, which I don't fully understand. But that's like a physics thing. And this ain't no damn physics podcast.
I think I've heard. What is this called again?
Anita?
The
device that they use?
Maybe it's not that I've heard of Anita, but this concept that you're talking about, or neutrinos or whatever. Oh, yeah, dude. When I was in school, I took a class called Contemporary Physics for Non-Scientists, and we talked about, we read Brian Greene's The Elegant Universe.
I haven't read that.
Which is a really interesting book. So it's basically like the class was basically like one big Wikipedia page, right? It's like you had your professor, you asked questions, and he just told you stuff.
That's awesome. Dope.
Right?
He's like, look, guys,
so
there's a bunch of shit out there we can talk about. Whatever you guys are interested, let's talk about it. And I'll tell you what I think about it.
It was just a class where we learned a bunch of stuff, where we learned about a bunch of stuff, but there was no math involved. So we talked about string theory. We talked about quantum physics, quantum mechanics. We talked which by the way, I'm like 95% certain that everything within the field of quantum physics has been proven, or things within the field of quantum physics have been proven, unless they're just making brand new discoveries now that need to be proven. But when I was in that class, the things that we talked about, everything was proven. And so that's the craziest things about like time. Yeah. So that's like the stuff about time. Like if you watch the Marvel movies and you watch like Doctor Strange, or even just like any movie about space, they connect things on a scientific level, because there's actually this famous quote that says any technology or science sufficiently developed is indistinguishable from magic. So that's the way that Kevin Feige sort of tied things in with Doctor Strange. It's all about quantum physics. Yeah. Like quantum physics states that if you stick your hand into a wall enough times, eventually you'll go through it, and that's called quantum tunneling. And that's like phasing through a wall. That's like maybe 1 out of 1 billion times or something, but it will happen. And so
how could they prove that though? Unless they tried.
They have tried. I believe that the experiments involve quantum tunneling within like special lab environments or stuff like that. I don't remember what the experiments were like, but they were able to prove these things with quantum physics. And I think that like kind of like a mathematical equation, by proving one thing and proving another thing, they can definitely prove something else or something. I don't know how it all works. I'm not a scientist, but that's like the cool stuff. And, you know, I remember reading articles about light and about energy. And there's some people in the scientific community that actually think that light, to some degree, is sentient. Right? And I don't know if that's sentient the way we are sentient, but that light actually behaves and thinks and chooses. And that's an interesting... Oh, and that's actually kind of like the double slit experiment.
Exactly. But that's anyway, what I was just going to bring up, the double slit experiment with the electrons and how they behave differently when they were being observed. That's fucking nuts, dude. That shit blows my mind. Yeah. I learned about that. Like, I watched this really in-depth YouTube video that was like from a channel that was like into the science of it, not just like, isn't this crazy? It was like actually talking about the science of it. And I was high as fuck. And it blew my mind to the point where I had to like go away from my computer for a minute. Because I was like, that's that.
I'm becoming too knowledgeable.
Well, that's like one of the supports for the simulation theory, right? Is that it changes based on whether it's being observed or not. And that's the idea of like so the thing about video games now, like the reason why they're able to have such amazing graphics nowadays with like the hardware and everything is because it loads only what you're looking at, your field of view in a video game. So say you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2, like highest quality graphics and shit, and everything looks amazing, and this is your field of view just right in front of you. Everything else behind you outside of your field of view isn't loaded. It's not like the game doesn't load the entire map at once, or else it would overload everything. So it loads exactly your field of view, and it's very quick at doing it. And so that idea even is reflective of like, what if that's true for us too? It's only our field of view.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's only our field of view, but since we're like cohabitating the same simulation, technically, because you could be standing in front of me, we're facing each other, and you can't see what's behind you, but I can see what's behind you, and vice versa. But that's okay because we're both part of it. So it's happening for both of us. So it's loading all of that. But like in the middle of fucking nowhere, in the middle of a forest where there isn't any person, is that place even there? Is it even loaded? You know what I mean? There'd be no way of knowing, because when you go there to check, yeah, it's there because you're looking at it. And
yeah,
I think that electron, the double slit experiment, is like is the only evidence of the simulation theory that I ever like thought was concrete, other than the fact of it being like, well, yeah, man, I mean, it makes sense, right? You know, like that shit's crazy, dude. But before I interrupted, were you making a point?
Don't remember. Was it about like the going through walls or something? Oh yeah, so the whole light thing.
Mm-hmm. Light being sentient.
So with light being sentient, there's this belief that, like, if you're somebody who's a believer, right? And so you look at the Gospels and you see things that Jesus did, right? The reason why he was able to do these miracles is because of the foundation of nature. It's because of this quantum physics, mm-hmm. right? And so, like, there's a lot of beliefs that exist now. Like, you know, there's the law of attraction, the power of belief. These things that, as they call it, manifestation, right? And even just like that's like the basic stuff mm-hmm. of like creating your life, whatever. It's like some things that they teach in self-development.
Yeah, like repeating the same thing in the mirror for a year.
Affirmations, which is a quantum. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like affirmations are a quantum physics proven thing. You know, that's been proven by quantum physics, affirmation, right? And it's also been proven with experiments.
Has that been proven? I want to see.
It has, 100%. And there was an experiment done with plants where you would write the word love under a plant and write the word hate under another plant. And the one plant, so I think that they were growing the plants, right? And then one plant withered and died, and the other plant that had love in it, love written under it, it blossomed.
That makes
right?
sense.
Water, when you run the right kind of frequency through it, actually can freeze in time. Mm-hmm. Not freeze like cold, but freeze.
I know I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, it looks as if it's still. It looks as if it's a frozen stream of water coming out of a faucet or something. I've seen that, and that's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. And so think about it, like when you think about like vibrations and frequencies and the things that we do and our thoughts and even our words, the way we treat ourselves, we're mostly made of water. So of course it's going to affect us. And so like there's like this basic ideas of, you know, positive thinking or whatever, and, you know, achieving your goals. People use that to become successful. Mm-hmm. But on a much more intense level, there's the whole miracles, right? And like the whole seeing extraordinary things happen. And there are recorded instances of that in different parts of the world. And it's freaky stuff if you get into it.
Yeah, for sure. Right? And like that always made so much sense to me. Like whenever I would think about like miracles that Jesus performed, I always was thinking of it happening within the confines of the physical laws that our reality operates. You know, he's not like the miracle isn't just magic. All of a sudden it's fine. No, it's like on an atomic, subatomic level, changing the reality of what's happening so that like healing takes place or this takes place or levitation or walking on water. Like it's a command of the laws of physics rather than...
So him being light and being energy and being tuned into that and being one with it is able to take authority over it and consciously decide what he wants to do.
It's crazy.
So those things can happen because he can make anything happen because quantum physics states given enough opportunity, and that's just even mathematical law of averages, like given enough opportunities for something, it will happen. Well, if the ability for it to happen is real and you have the ability to control the outcome and to decide it, then you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So dude, and that's freaky, dude.
It is freaky, and it's insane, and it's also funny. Like I imagine like God creating the universe, and he's like, one more thing. Quantum theory, boom. If they find this and figure out how to work this is going to be crazy. If they figure out how to do this, they're going to be creating shit like.
And then the Tower of Babel happens, and it's not like actually like a physical structure, but it's like
it's just happening. It's just conjuring.
Gateway to heaven.
It's just like,
and then it's like, oh no, I made a mistake.
Oh no. Flood.
Everyone starts speaking differently now.
Oh my god. Yeah, exactly. No confusion. That's so funny.
But yeah, that's cool stuff, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I want to bring it back to this parallel universe thing and finish up this topic. How long have we been going? Cool, we've been going for 34 minutes. Amazing. So we're halfway through. Roughly. We're going to keep it pretty loose here. Like, I think an hour is a good amount of time to get into things, especially if we're like focused and the energy's good and we can talk about one topic overall, I think, but then obviously there's room for other little things to come in here and there. Just wherever our mind goes. I think an hour is a good amount of time, but if we want to go less, we want to go more, whatever. Going back to what we were talking about, summarizing real quick, this device, and I keep saying device because I don't know what else to fucking call it. That's literally like, what is this thing? It's
an experimental child. Anita.
Isn't
that the name of a movie? Is that the name of some sort of movie?
A name of a movie?
Anita, NASA. Anita. Movie. Yeah, it's the name of a movie.
What movie? Anita.
Oh, Battle Angel. Oh, it's Alita, Battle Angel.
Oh, right. Never mind. Anita. It's a movie. What movie? Anita. So
Anita,
if this
NASA
device that right, it's this device.
Antenna,
it's an antenna.
It's an antenna.
All right, it's an antenna.
It's a fucking antenna.
It's an antenna. Gotcha.
It's in the name.
I'm sorry, I'm not a scientist. So they use this device to do their thing, right? So
why in Antarctica? That's so crazy.
Oh, it says here they do it in Antarctica because
of the Ascarian effect.
What is that? No, it's because of the all the Nazi bases that are there still.
It's a phenomenon whereby a particle traveling faster. Okay, well, that doesn't help me as to why it's done in Antarctica.
No, it's because there's little or no radio noise to distort in the air above Antarctica, because that's not where all of our satellites and shit are sending messages. It's going like this way around the Earth rather than this way around the Earth. So there's like nothing going on down there. And it's also crazy. I'm sure there's like some crazy shit going on because that's where like the electromagnetic fields go from the poles. Dude, there could be a sliver of space directly on the axis that is separate from like our electromagnetic pole or the field. 1 square inch separate from time. Anyway, so that's why they do it there. And they're talking about the neutrinos, the low energy particles, and how they can only detect high energy particles coming down from space to Earth and interacting with space, not leaving Earth. Because if I understand it now, Okay, Earth, low energy particles go right through the Earth. High energy particles hit the Earth and stick to it because they can't move through it. So that's the only way that can happen. There's no, like, it wouldn't make sense for high energy particles to go off of the Earth because they hit it and stick to it. You feel me? So the only way that would happen is if it was moving backwards and they were moving backwards in time, because there's no force that would make them go in the other direction away from this when they were moving this way, and the momentum of it hits like that. You feel me? I think. Mm-hmm. In the most basic way that I can understand. So if they were to ever see them going away from the Earth, it would imply that they're traveling backwards in time. And that's apparently what they've seen. Peter Gorham, an experimental physicist, particle physicist at the University of Hawaii and principal investigator at ANITA, is lead author on a Cornell University paper describing the bizarre phenomenon. Pointing out the sheer impossibility of the tau neutrino's behavior, Gorham suggests that the only way it could happen is if the particle changed into a different type of particle before passing through the Earth and then back again. So, higher energy particle turns into a low energy particle, faces through, high energy particle. But it also says that's 1 billion to 1 shot that might have happened. Same way that you were saying 1 billion to 1 chance if you're hitting a wall that your hand will go through it. Like phase through. So, and based on science, it's usually
the most likely, as astronomical as it sounds, the most likely is what drives theories, right? But the Anita team have seen several of these impossible events. And they are even saying, or the guy that wrote this is even saying that they believe that like the idea of it changing into a different type of particle is very unlikely. So then they're saying here, the simplest and therefore scientifically most elegant explanation is this. At the moment of the Big Bang, two universes were formed, ours and another one that from our perspective is
upside down.
It's running in reverse. Of course, if there were any inhabitants of this mirror universe, they'd see ours as the backwards one, which is crazy. So it's crazy to think like you don't like it's not backwards, like walking backwards, talking in reverse and shit. It's like they're going forward from their perspective. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, I can't even wrap my head around that.
You know what, James? That's, okay, so this is what this makes me think about, right? When you look at ancient cultures and civilizations and stuff, their brains were wired totally different, right? And when you have you ever seen the movie Arrival?
Yes.
With Jeremy Renner? Okay. So you know the language and about how like their language didn't have a beginning or an end, and that's why they couldn't understand algebra. Well, the ancient Hebrew mind was a lot like that, right? Where there, instead of like 3 plus 5 equals 8, which is
mathematically correct,
which is Greek, which is algebraic and it's Greek.
Did you just say 3 plus 3 equals 8?
3 plus 5.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's do something easy. 5 plus 5 equals 10. Okay. So let's just say it was.
That's more
because 3 plus 5 was so hard.
That's more my speed, baby. 5 and 5.
So 5 plus, say, they would think instead 5 plus 5 equals 10 because 5 plus 5.
Like,
right?
5 plus 5 equals 10 equals 5 plus 5 equals 10. Yeah, so it'd be like.
The end must equal the beginning, right?
That's crazy.
It's an interesting thing because that forms a full circle, right?
Have you done any reading about that, like about the ancient Hebrew language and why it was?
Oh, a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the ancient Hebrew language was so different, like the written language, their culture and the way their brains were wired. Everybody knows that with the Hebrews, they read from right to left, not left to right like we do. Well, that's just the beginning of it. Really, their language wasn't like ours, where we understand things blatantly and when they form an impression or whatever, and we can see maybe a picture of it in our mind when reading a book. Their whole language was, you can have one letter or one quote-unquote sentence, and it was an entire experience. It was an entire visual journey. It was an entire experience, and it was a lot of feeling and spirit involved in it. That's why I go back to this because I've studied this so much, but when Jesus spoke to his disciples, he was able to speak in parables, and he was able to speak in certain ways without being politically correct because they understood the spirit of what he was saying. You know,
I would like some.
Instead of having to be,
I would like some
logical
sources on that. Not sources because I don't believe you, but just like more research on that because it's tough to like know exactly what happened with a dead language. Because is that Aramaic?
Yeah.
Or is that?
I don't know. I don't know if it's Aramaic. I'm talking about like the ancient, like Old Testament, like Hebrew, Old Hebrew, whatever that is. Because I think Aramaic is like a dialect or whatever within that time period.
Ancient Hebrew.
But the one that predates it, because like during that time they actually all spoke. So they wrote in Greek and they spoke Greek. That's why like the New Testament Gospels are written in Greek, and then the old ones they're written in the Hebrew language, right? But in the New Testament they spoke Aramaic, but they wrote it in Greek. Before they wrote it and they spoke it in their Hebrew language. So anyway, the way that they understood things was totally different. Their brains were just wired in totally different ways.
Yeah, I totally believe that. And there's like, especially when you're dealing with like ancient cultures, that there's no one from that time that is alive right now that has carried that tradition on. You know, these are all like dead languages, dead cultures that are gone. And the best we can do is study them using our other frames of references to try to understand it the best we can. Like when they discover, a new type of like hieroglyphic that isn't a language that they have written record of, they have to use other context of the time and of the location that they can to piece things together the best they can to try to understand what it says, but they don't really know. And it's like, dude, with ancient Sumerian stuff too, like nuts.
And their language, I think, was different. I think I'm not sure about this, but I know that there's like cuneiform, and I'm not sure if that was them or if it was another
cuneiform
culture.
is, I think, just that type of writing, right?
What's Sanskrit?
Denoting or relating to the wedge-shaped characters used in the ancient writing systems of Mesopotamia, Persia, and Ugarit, surviving mainly in.
So it was a style of writing.
Yeah. So it is. Yeah, it is Sumerian. Mm-hmm. So all of those.
It's Sumerian, okay.
Akkadian, Eblate, Elamite, Hattic, Hittite, Hurrian, Luwian, Sumerian, Urartian, Old Persian. So Mesopotamian, crazy, yeah. So that type of, the wedgie kind of, like, it almost was just like little pieces carved out, and it looks more like lines and arrows that are, that's crazy, man. Imagine understanding an ancient language, like truly understanding an ancient language. Where are we going? Oh, let me, you know what?
So Sammy and I are getting our. I had my finger pricked yesterday to know what my blood type was, so that I know what blood type my son's going to be, and I found out that I'm B positive, and Sammy is A negative, I think, and like her whole family's negative. So 85% of the population in the United States is a positive Rh factor, and 15% is negative. That's because the positive is dominant. There's a conspiracy theory out there that people think that anyone who's Rh negative descends from aliens, and that with the Rh positive being dominant, that at some point, this next part is me. With the Rh positive being dominant, at some point, eventually, all Rh negative blood types will cease to exist in the world, and that's what leads us to Armageddon. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know where I was going with that, but isn't that cool?
Why is that a theory that type of blood, the Rh negative, comes from aliens?
I don't know. They told me yesterday. I googled it and I saw some YouTube videos of it on Ancient Aliens, but I didn't actually get into it.
Yeah, dude, I hate Ancient Aliens, the show. I hate it. It's such a
I know you told me about that. Last time we attempted to record this, you told
because like that shit could be interesting, but they make such a gimmick out of it, and it like 15 fucking seasons of it. You guys still have shit to talk about. None of this is true. None of this is proven. You guys are just talking out of your ass for 15 seasons. Anyways. Oh, I wanted to read one of the articles that I found this morning because I read that article that I just paraphrased that whole time from the Daily Star. Is that it? Daily Star? Yeah. I read that last night. And then I was like, I will look more into this tomorrow with Franco. I'm going back to watching Up. And so then this morning, I Googled it again, and the top articles were replaced with more articles that are disproving it, saying, no, this isn't what happened. No, this isn't what they discovered. No, this isn't exactly how it happened. But everyone got carried away. But, I mean, who the fuck knows, man? Maybe they did, and they're trying to silence it. You know what I mean? Maybe they did discover it. Maybe it is the exact proof that you need in order to keep moving towards that theory. But the world...
Yeah, one second.
We're being bugged. Wait, what is it? What does Drake say? Still hearing clicks when I'm talking on the iPhone. Okay.
Oh, because he's
paranoid.
Wiretapped.
Because he thinks he's being wiretapped. Drake. Yeah, you're being wiretapped, Drake. Oh, dude. Still hearing clicks when I'm talking on the iPhone. No, you're not. Maybe you're a bad service, man. You're not being surveyed. Surveillanced. Anyways, so then I looked up this article from this morning.
We love you, Drake. We think you're amazing.
Yo, Drake, if you're watching, dog, if you're listening, mwah, we love you, dog.
Your album, Take Care, saved my life, dude.
Yeah. Franco was almost murdered, and he played the music for them, and they were like, "Wow, that's really good." So then I found this article this morning from Newsweek, which I think is pretty credible. NASA didn't discover a parallel universe, but pop culture imagines what it could look like. Wait a minute. Is this dumb? Let me just read this over real quick.
A lot of effort is going into people. Like, a lot of effort is going into this whole thing about the parallel universe and saying how NASA didn't discover it.
Yeah, you just looked it up. All the articles now are saying that that's not what they discovered. But I'm like, well, what do you mean? Because the article that I read was referencing the head of the program and his essay that his study was.
And his essay? His homie?
No. The guy.
His essay.
His essay. His Peter Gorham, the experimental particle physicist and the principal investigator at ANITA, is the lead author on a Cornell University paper describing this phenomenon. So that's what they're referencing in the Daily Star article that I read first. So I'm saying, like, but if they're referencing that, are they just blatantly like taking little bits and pieces and like expanding on them and taking liberties? I don't know. But let me see what this one says. No, I mean, yeah, I guess. I wouldn't say, this is what I would say. They didn't discover it, and they also didn't disprove it. They just discovered these particles acting in a way that they shouldn't be based on our current understanding of them. So if anything, at the very least, it's moving the understanding forward of subatomic particles and how they interact with matter and each other and other particles and in relation to space and time, right? And if every single particle of this type that they've ever observed has behaved one way, and then they observed it behave in a different way, and they're trying to figure out why and how. So that's like the basis of this. And I think all the rest of it is like speculation in a way, even on the part of the scientists saying that in science, like, the theory that is most often true is the one that there's the most evidence for, right? Or that, like, if there's one that makes sense but there isn't any evidence for it, then that's further from the truth. So that's kind of what they're saying. But yeah, so again, NASA has not discovered this parallel universe, despite what some headlines say, but it does leave room to the imagination what a parallel universe would look like if it really did exist. Well, obviously, man. Fucking great article. Okay, so according to CNET, it's saying that this report was first, or all the reports on the different websites that were claiming that NASA did discover this, they're all apparently pulled from the same source of information, which is a paywalled report. So it's a report that's behind a paywall, meaning you have to either subscribe or buy it in order to read it, by New Scientist on April 8th, titled, "We May Have Spotted a Parallel Universe Going Backwards in Time." But then later it says here that although that New Scientist report was filed on April 8th, the ANITA results are almost 2 years old, but they're just now getting traction. So that's the thing that fucking pisses me off, is that there isn't ever really like a new, like, there isn't really like news, you know what I mean? Like, this is 2 years old. That means that their understanding of it now, currently in 2020, is probably 10 times more than it was 2 years ago when they first made these discoveries. You know what I mean? And now kind of like, I don't care. Because I'm like, why, well, how do they think now about it? What is this guy, like, what does the team think now? Like, have they continued to do these experiments and observations for 2 years straight? What difference have they observed? Like, is there any more development? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But That's not what this podcast is, man. I'm not trying to get to the bottom of this. I'm not going to go sifting through scientific journals and reports and papers because I'm not a scientist. I want to understand it. That's me being honest. There are other people on the world that have the brains and purpose to do that.
And time.
Playa.
And care about this
I'm trying to make it
do.
big on music, man.
Yeah, but if anybody has any questions based on the stuff that we have been excited to talk about so far, you can just go ahead and ask them, and we'll answer them the next time we record.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've been really enjoying talking about all these random things that have come up, and it's a lot of random
things.
stuff we've talked about. So if you want us to elaborate, go ahead, or if you want us to talk about something specific,
Yeah, totally.
it's fun too.
This is fun. This is crazy. All right, I'm going to read a couple questions from Twitter. I think it's a good time to start wrapping up. We're almost at an hour.
Yeah, I gotta go soon.
From last week's question, we have a question from Ben W. about the desert island. Remember that one, Franco?
Oh,
we answered that last week. So basically,
I'm totally gonna take back my answers. It was so stupid.
It was so stupid. Yeah, ours were both stupid. They were just like, it was like our bad attempt at improving.
Like what's James's like favorite like masturbation toy? Make sure he has it.
Yeah, make sure he has it. He's gonna be pissed if he doesn't. So here's the question from Ben W. 3 items to bring on a desert island. I choose Franco's 3 items. Franco chooses my 3 items. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
All right, you go first. All right, let me think.
Well, for you, for one, like you're definitely getting a knife if you're on an island. Well, actually, again, I don't know what this island looks like. I don't know if it's just like a barren wasteland.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's trees. I'm assuming there's trees and fruit.
Let's say it's like a normal
fucked.
like small Pacific island, like Castaway type of island. So
Like a tropical paradise.
like there are resources on the island that I can take advantage of and use up.
Okay.
There are fossil fuels on the island that I can rip from the earth and burn for industry.
Okay. Well, I would say a knife for one. It was just like a big knife. Oh, you know what? A machete, not a knife. A machete. You would need a machete. I don't know if there are any animals. Let's just say that there are just basic animals.
Basic animals.
Basic.
Level
Just say there's
basic level
insects.
1. Just insects.
Well, you can survive from eating insects. I mean, it's not going to be. You're not going to enjoy it, but you can.
Well, I don't want to.
There's
man.
fish. There's fish around.
There's fish, sure. There's fish. If there's coral around, then there's a plentiful abundance of sea life. But I have to be careful. I can't hunt too many fish, or else they'll become the wiser and they'll stop coming there.
I can't fish too many fish.
I can't fish too many fish.
Oh my god! You remember the other guys when
he's talking about the
Mark
lion?
Wahlberg? Yeah.
He's like, and now we've acquired a taste for lion. Wait, he's like, you swim a lion swimming out into the ocean, into open water with a school of 300, 400, 600-pound tuna? Dude, he just owns him. Dude, the other guys is so funny. But the other guys,
I love that movie.
my only issue with the other guys, and it's the same issue I have with Step Brothers, is that they both start so strong, and the first half of both those movies are so strong, but the second half kind of like, you know what I mean? They're kind of like, they don't finish that strong. Like the first half of both of those movies are fucking hilarious. In Step Brothers, them meeting and all the tension and tiffing, and then they become friends and everything, like that's all so funny. And then it becomes like weird, kind of like they try to make this
like a shift in tone.
Yeah, it's shift in tone and like a weird shift in tone. And it's just not as funny and consistent. And same thing with
Speaking
other
of
guys.
shift in tone, have you seen A Simple Favor?
A Simple Favor. That sounds familiar.
With Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick.
Oh, I've heard of it.
That movie shifts in tone.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not going to give anything away. Just
you
because
texted me
I thought that it was enjoyable. Yeah. I thought that it was really enjoyable. Don't read anything about it because it's probably going to give it away. I thought that it was a really enjoyable movie. If you consider both those actresses, I mean, it was good, but it was like... I don't want to even talk about it. Just imagine it being like, it's like a
Just
thriller,
tell me.
right?
I don't want to watch it, really. Give me a simple breakdown.
Okay, well, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it and wants to see it. But basically, it's like presented all the trailers to the movie, right? It's like supposed to be a thriller, right? And you think it's a thriller, and it starts off, and it's a thriller the entire time until about halfway through, and the tone 100% changes to comedy. But they do it in a really cool way because Anna Kendrick is like kind of a wimp in the beginning, and then she like becomes a total boss, and she starts wrapping Annie up in the car, like when she discovers something about Blake Lively, and then it like totally changes, and she becomes like a powerful person. And anyway, it like completely shifts, and you're kind of at least I was watching it, and I was like, what the fuck am I watching right now? It was really cool the way that they did
so it was good. You liked it.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. Yeah, it caught me off guard, but it did it in the right way. What you're talking about
is the wrong way. It's
with
movies.
Step Brothers.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a comedy, so you want to laugh throughout. But then there was that whole drama bit towards in the middle, and anyway, like I see what you're. It's just the moment how it is a comedy, but the momentum
totally fizzles out because and this is about like also story structure too. Like it builds up and gets better and better. So it should be building up and maintaining that momentum, or at least reaching a plateau. But it so quickly, like literally, I think it's right when they do like the presentation about Prestige Worldwide, and they do like the boats and hose video in the thing. Yeah. Right after that, it just like totally fizzles out. Like they didn't really know where to go, so they kind of just like went through the beats, nothing special, and then led to the Catalina wine mixer, which was an okay finish, but it's, I don't know, just that's the reason why that's not like one of my favorite comedies, because it doesn't finish as strong as it started. But anyways, back to the desert island.
I'd give James a knife, a tent, so that's shelter, and that's an ability to, build things or
don't give me a tent. I can make a tent.
You want
I can make shelter.
I'll give you a knife. Do you want your bare hands to catch fish, or do you want like a spear or something?
I'll make a spear.
You can make a spear. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Think about things that I can't make.
Just a knife.
Just a knife.
You could probably make fire. Do you know how to make fire?
Yes.
Okay.
You could give me a flint.
Okay. Sure, I'll give you a flint. In the event that you need to make fire really, really fast, like it just so happens that a helicopter is
right there, and I'm like, oh shit,
like an airplane.
Yeah, and then I'm just, oh fuck, shing, fire.
I'm just gonna burn the whole island down, make sure they really see me.
So there's two. So a knife and flint.
Sunscreen. No, you don't need sunscreen. You'd eventually adapt.
You'd eventually die. I wouldn't eventually adapt. I would burn. And that would be that's terrible, actually. I would burn the fuck out.
Yeah, I'd give you sunscreen.
Yeah, well, no, actually, I would eventually adapt. I would be fucked for a while because I'd get burnt, and then I'd have to, like, stay out of the sunlight for a while so my sun can heal, and then that would happen a couple times, and then my skin would heal, and then eventually I think I'd be able to, like, hold the tan. I don't know. Dude, I'd probably get in such good shape. I'd be lifting boulders and logs and shit and battling wild animals with my bare hands.
You just get hella lazy in the island. All the fish are nearby, easily accessible, so you're just chilling.
I gain weight somehow. Oh, dude. Yeah, I put on like 30, 40 pounds, man. I was actually living it good there.
Nobody was bugging me. It's all good. I
didn't have to worry about what I looked like. I lost my glasses 2 days in, and I was going blind the whole time. Dude, that would be my fucking weakness, man. If I was ever like stuck in the wilderness and I lost my glasses, dead. Probably dead. It would be such a struggle for me to survive without my glasses and the ability to see. I would have to quickly adapt to being blind, and I would have to like.
What's your prescription?
I think like -5.5, -5 or something like that.
Oh shit! Okay.
It's bad.
Mine's 2.5 and 3.
Yeah, no, mine's bad, dude.
Okay. And I'd give you a water filter. Damn it! I'd give you just like a big ass water filter.
A Brita.
No, like a special water filter, like the one that can remove salt and stuff.
That's cool. There's actually this
desalinator.
There's this straw that they made that has a built-in filter.
Yeah. So I was
It's, like,
considering
pretty
giving you
thick.
that, but I wouldn't give you that because it's really annoying. Because, like, imagine having to drink from that straw and only that straw the whole time you're in the end.
Well, yeah, I could also just boil water. If it was like groundwater that I found, I could just boil it.
Yeah.
But that's like
There's
for
no groundwater on the island.
Oh man. Well, then there's no fresh water. Then it's all salt water, and I'd have to. That would suck.
Yeah. You need a desalinator.
Okay. Okay. Is that like carbon?
Yeah.
Does carbon do that?
I don't know what does it. I don't know. I don't know the sound.
I don't know the name. I don't know the sound it makes when it kills a man. Dude, Tropic Thunder, man.
That's my favorite comedy.
Yeah,
That's my.
I
favorite
honestly
comedy.
think that and Superbad and Dumb and Dumber, I think, are my top 3 comedies of all time. Yeah, I can confidently say that.
Superbad's up there for me.
All 3 in different ways.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Because Superbad has like that indie, very relatable, very charming, like it resonates with you because you can understand being like a teen and stuff like that. Tropic Thunder is like an epic comedy that is done on such a big scale and has so much value in it with like the amazing ensemble cast, perfect casting all around, an amazing story, and like huge set pieces. It's like a blockbuster comedy in the best way. And then Dumb and Dumber is a dumbass, stupid-ass comedy that's actually really well written if you look past all the stupid shit and how all of that stupid shit is so intentionally written to like complement the story. And yeah, I think those are my 3 favorite comedies of all time.
I think that for me it's Tropic Thunder and Superbad, but I don't know what my third favorite would be. That's a hard one. Mm-hmm. Anyways, back to the island.
So I got my 3. Right?
Salinator. What'd you say?
I got my 3.
Salinator, knife. What's the other one? I can't remember what I gave you. A flint.
A flint. That's it. And then you know what, Franco? Same 3 for you, man. We're getting equal chances to survive here, and that's only fair.
No. You're gonna want to give me a tent. I don't know how to fucking make shelter.
Okay, I'll tell you how, man. I'll teach you. I'll teach you on the island, dude. It'll be fine. Okay, fine. What would you rather?
Takes me 4 days to make shelter.
And I have several layers built into the tree, like treehouse status. Actually, the key is building your shelter off the ground, a few feet off the ground. So like low bearing branches and stuff. I saw Bear Grylls did it, and it made perfect sense because if like whether it's water or insects or animals, they're not gonna go into your camp because it's above the ground. So like putting it on like tree branches that kind of go low and stuff, and building it on there, kind of like a treehouse. That's what I would do.
That's cool.
So yeah, I choose 3 items. But you want a tent. So what would you rather have? What would you want the tent to replace?
The flint.
You are confident in your skills to make a fire? Bare hands? No help?
I would learn. Fuck it. All right, you know what? I'll do a flint and not the tent.
Good.
I'll just figure out how to make myself some shelter. And if I can't, then I'll just won't have shelter. What's the worst that can happen?
And you know what? Honestly, if I'm being quite honest, if I can't figure these things out, I'll die. And that's how it goes.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the logic of it.
So next question. Do I like producing or rapping better? From Uncle Hank on Twitter. Sorry, it's all about me. I like both, but I like producing better because I put more effort into producing. And I've gotten better at that. So my skills are higher in producing than they are. My stats are higher in producing than they are in rapping, but I want to get better at rapping. I also really want to network with a lot of artists. And find
you're great at producing
rap. Thank you, man. And find I'm definitely learning so hard. I have so far to go, but like in the best way.
Yeah, I think your rapping is really good too, and it's proven people are listening to your music. I just think that the better that you get at it, the faster it's going to come.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like you have to work on it for a while. But with the producing, like you just sit down and do it.
And that's all it is, baby. It's easy as that, man. You ever wanted to figure out how to produce, you just sit down and you fucking do it, bitch. Okay, so this next question here is from HFDVJH on Twitter. which state would win in a battle royale against the other states? I remember this. Franco had a good answer. Go ahead, Franco.
It was so stupid because we did it, and then we did it again the second time we recorded the video, and now we're doing it for a third time.
Well, we can change. Like you can change it.
Practiced.
You can change your answers. Well, what I said stands.
Huh?
I said, well, what I said stands.
So yeah, I was thinking about it like if the states had a battle royale, you would take the hardest part of your state. They would kill off the rest of your state. So pretty much.
But they don't have to. It's states versus states, so they can all team up.
No. They have to. So like Boston would wipe out the rest of Massachusetts.
For sure. Charlestown specifically.
Would probably wipe out the rest of Los Angeles and pretty much all of California. And then Brooklyn would wipe out the rest of New York, but we'd probably have a fight from some people there. And then you would get into the finals. Actually, no, like everybody's just killing each other. It's like just like everybody from the same state. It's just like the Comptonites are just killing everybody. Even the Comptonites.
Even themselves, everyone's committing suicide. I easily think that Texas would win. Texas or Nevada or any other state that has legal access. You can walk into a gun store and buy military grade weapons. Any of those states would win.
Yeah, realistically, yeah, it'd probably be Texas, actually.
Or a state like Hawaii, potentially. Because how the fuck are you going to get to Hawaii?
Well, if you've ever played the game Risk, you have to go through...
You have to go through Papua New Guinea.
What's it called? Where's Samoa located? Where's
the island of Samoa? The Isle of Samoa. It's closer to. It's further west, much further west, right?
That'd probably mess up a good amount of people.
Well, that's not Is that an American territory? American Samoa, yeah, duh.
I thought it was. Yeah.
Map. Going to map. Okay, yeah, so it is, whoa. Yeah, so it's like equidistant, like the distance from LA to Hawaii, it's exactly that distance further south. So it's twice as far away as Hawaii is. But we're not talking about territories, we're talking about states, baby. So yeah, I think Texas or Nevada, easily, or any other state.
Cool.
Any state has the chance, equal grounds. That's America, baby.
Cool.
Everyone has an equal chance. So next question. Okay. Another question from Nash Ass. Do you plan on making more music? Another question about me and my music? Yes. The answer is yes. And then let me go to... So those are from last week. Let me go to this week's. And we'll get more questions as time goes. So Taya, who is one of my mods on my stream too, she asked several questions in one, and I told her I'd pick one. So first question she asked, what is 6,743 times 798,576? Let me see.
Carry the four.
Infinite numbers. Also, opinions on the Mandela effect. That'd be a cool thing to get into.
What's the Mandela effect?
Oh, you don't know about the Mandela effect?
No. Does it have to do with Nelson Mandela?
Yes. So it started out because when Nelson Mandela died, let me make sure. When he died,
spirit went into several different people.
No. He died in 2013.
Only the chosen ones.
He died in 2013. But when it happened, everybody, like a huge amount of people were like, what? I thought that Nelson Mandela died like back in the 80s. And like a lot of people were like, what the fuck? We thought that too. In fact, we thought it was a fact that he died like decades ago. And then it started, a lot of people started realizing these other things that were like a common memory. But then that led to all these other things that people were believing that turned out to not be true, and like massive memories of these groups of people that were like this thing, that thing. So we'll get into that next week because I'll bring up some crazy ones for you.
Okay.
But damn, that's crazy. Cool. So, Taya, that was the answer to your question about the Mandela effect. We're going to talk about it next week.
Hey, you should do it like every time I interject to make like a comment or whatever. Like you hear my voice, but then you cut it out, and it's still
and you're just like
talking. So it's like,
or like literally like,
so it's like,
and it cuts to the next thing, like cuts you off.
So like they know that you're deleting the stuff that I'm saying.
Oh man, I'm excited to edit this because I want to have fun with it, dude. I want to like make little like scores and like little musical things to like set the tone for certain things we're talking about. I want to make an intro song. I still have to work on our logo and a little intro like theme and video that I want to do. And that's the end of the questions. Hopefully we have better questions going forward. No, I'm kidding. Thank you everybody who asked a question. We definitely, I don't know about you, Franco, but I definitely want to make this a thing where we interact and ask questions to you guys and get your thoughts on the things we talk about. And if you guys have any like sources or like, oh, did you hear about this thing? Elaborate on something we talked about. That'd be amazing. I'm all for that. Once again, let me clarify. I'm going to look right into the camera and say this before anybody goes fucking crazy and starts typing shit. This is not a podcast where we're trying to prove or disprove anything. We're talking about these theories and these different subject matters because they're interesting to us. And we're going to look up some things, to support them and in order to keep the conversation going and, so we're not just being like, yeah, that's crazy. Oh my God, that's fucking crazy. But I'm not trying to prove anything. So this is purely entertainment. So there we go. Anything else? Am I missing anything else? Let me check my thing.
No, I feel good.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel great. We've been going for an hour.
Much better than the video.
Than the video?
I feel like this was much better than the video that we made
last time. The last episode we made? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like I felt a little bit more comfortable because like those first two attempts were literally like my first time like doing that, and now I just feel a little bit better. Yeah. And this was a lot better.
I agree.
Last time we were talking about Elon Musk's son's name, and like that's funny, but it's not as funny or as interesting as the other stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we talked about some really cool shit, and like, yeah, if any of you guys want us to talk about certain theories or anything, I'm gonna make us a subreddit too. I'm going to make us a subreddit for people to go and post any questions or anything that they want to ask, because that's a good place to do that.
Cool.
Cool. Stay tuned.
Cool.
This is just episode 1, baby. We'll keep it going. I think we want to do it weekly because it's fun. We're having fun. And that's it. We'll end it there. Thank you guys so much for listening and viewing and tuning in. And... Adios. Franco, any last words?
Thank you. No, just excited to keep doing these videos and meet everybody.
All right, great ending there, Franco.